This is a book review about a book, about this book. Okay, I'll start tomorrow. So this book is by Action Bronson. If you guys don't know who Action Bronson is, he is a Queens-born rapper slash chef, which he's very famous for both actually. He's very famous for intertwining a lot of food references in with his music, his raps, and he's really a very interesting guy, which is definitely why I had to pick up this book. First off, on an aesthetic appearance level, I like what it's got going on. I like this. It's very basic, almost like a 70s talk show set or something like that, with the kind of harsh gradient, not really like smooth, but we go from the yellow to the red orange, and then kind of cool too. This is just the cover for it, but underneath you have the same thing but in a blue. Reminds me of kind of what Baby Keem is doing with his singles going on right now. He had the blue one and then a brown one for do-rag activity. So let's talk length. What are we looking at? What's the damage? What's his bad boy? What's his baby running up on the page count? This is 172 pages. Do I think that's a lot? No. I don't read a lot though, so it's definitely on the shorter side. I mean, you take a look at how big these words are. They're pretty big, or the font size is pretty big, so it's a very easy read. You also have a bunch of page breaks like this, where it's just like separation into chapters or sections, whatever you want to call it. There's about, I don't know, maybe like 10 of those, so chop out another like 20 pages. It's really a short read. I read it in like a week, so I'm also kind of like a slow reader, or just slow in general. So what's this book about? I know it's titled, I'll Start Tomorrow, but there's not really an overall theme to it, which doesn't really hinder it, doesn't take away from it, because there's still a lot of good stuff going on in this book. They even have a section in the book, or like a chapter, whatever you want to call them, titled, the same thing as the book, I'll Start Tomorrow, which really just talks about weight loss and kind of like determination in that sense, and then like battling against his weight. Because if you don't know about Action Bronson, thanks for clicking on the video, because you don't know what this is about. I appreciate you watching regardless. But Action Bronson is a big dude. He talks about his weight a lot in this book. I think that's, there's even the like post chapter where he talks about what he felt while he was writing the book and how he's changed since then. And he does throw out a lot of numbers for his weight. I think he was up to like 360 pounds, so he's down like 100 pounds or something, I think now. I don't know. He's been battling with weight his whole life, and it's kind of strange because he jumps back and forth, and he does comment on it at the end. He'll jump back and forth about talking about like how much of a beast he is, how like cocky he comes off in these like situations and everything. But then in the end, he'll talk about like, oh, I really hyped up myself, but I wasn't a loser, but I definitely wasn't as cool as I made myself sound. So I do appreciate the honesty, him going back and like kind of correcting some of the stuff that he had written previously, and it just shows that he was in a different mindset at the end of the book than he was in the beginning. So yes, a big portion of this book is about his weight loss, working out. He's big into like bodybuilding, especially now if you follow him on like social media and stuff like Instagram. You'll see him posting a ton of workout videos, has like a personal trainer and everything. But what else is in the book? There's a lot of other stuff in the book. He talks about when he was younger, his parents sent him to just a cool example of a story is when he was younger, his parents sent him to a fat camp, which, have you ever seen the movie Heavyweights, which Judd Apatow directed? Or he mentions there's some tie to Judd Apatow in there. Maybe he didn't direct it, maybe he wrote it or something, but it's actually the camp that they based Heavyweights off of, or used like to inspire it. They went and scouted that camp that Action Bronson got sent to as inspiration for that film, which I think Heavyweights is a classic. If you guys haven't seen it, go watch it. It's got Ben Stiller. I forget who else is in it. One of the dudes who's always in the Adam Sandler films is in it, kind of like the curly-headed guy. But yeah, great film. He talks about relationships, growing up, a little bit about the rap career, how he got into cooking, a lot of stuff in here about cooking, about food. He goes into great detail about food. It's, you know, I feel like it's funny that it says a true story on the front. It's really kind of like an autobiography. It tells loosely, you know, parts of his life, some in a lot of detail. Sometimes he'll just like brush over things and then focus in on a certain dish, like a type of food, and talk about how much he loves it, or like a way his grandma or his mom used to cook it. So he'll get really descriptive about those things, but just brush over some other topics. The way this book reads is also very unique also, or like the writing style, the way it's conveyed to the reader, like how the words are arranged. It really sounds like he just sat down with a recorder, like a, you know, something to record himself talk, and then he talked for like an hour and then just went back and jotted everything down that way, because there's a lot of just like interruptions within his sentences. But if you watch Action Bronson stuff, he does kind of go off on these tangents sometimes, probably due to his very heavy marijuana use. But very interesting dude. Talks about like an epiphany in here. And yeah, there's a bunch of really interesting topics in the book, a lot of stories that aren't related to food and weight, though that seems to be a really big overarching topic and issue that he's been battling with the like I'll Start Tomorrow. A lot of it is about weight loss and dieting, try to like make commitments, stick to those commitments, which he really wraps up in the last chapter, talking about how like where he's at today. And then in the end of the book, he talks about like how quarantine has impacted all this, which is really interesting. I've never done a book review though, so I don't know how much I'm supposed to give away. I don't think I spoiled too much. There's a lot of really interesting stories inside here. It's a short read. It doesn't take very long. Action Bronson is a very interesting dude, and he tells these stories in a very interesting style. Like I said, it maybe takes like one chapter or like 10-15 pages to get used to the way he writes, because it does kind of take you out of it. You'll be reading one thought and then he'll just like plop something unrelated maybe in the center of it and then continue on with it right after. But it's really interesting. He has like a macho, self-deprecative, comedic approach to everything, but in a very positive light, which I don't know if that makes any sense. This entire review is off the cuff. I didn't write anything down. A lot of my videos I'll write stuff down. Maybe I should have, but yeah, I enjoyed this book. If you can get it, I think you can get it on like Kindle for like super cheap. Maybe do that. But yeah, I like the aesthetic of it. It's gonna be chilling on the shelf, and I can point at it and say, hey, I read that, and I support Action Bronson. I like his music. I like what he's doing. But yeah, I recommend this book. What would I rate it? I saw a lot of people rating it online like 8s and 9s. I think 9 might be a little bit high. Like I said, he does go off on these tangents. Some of them are pretty repetitive too, it felt like in the later chapters. So I feel like that would knock it down. But it's really interesting, an easy read once you get used to kind of like the style of how he narrates. So I don't know, I put like 7.5 or an 8. I appreciated it, but it's no perfect book. But yeah, I'd recommend it. It's a good read. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you, and I'll catch you in the next video. Book review.